win the chip, though. They'll have to get somebody a third reliable weapon, and the operative word is reliable. Somebody that is so bona fide and relatively consistent to the point where you get to take some of the load off of LeBron and Anthony Davis, because teams are going to have to pay attention to them as well.
I mean, I think there's only one guy that could be, right?
Kyle Kuzma.
That's the only guy I can think of.
We've been waiting for that for a minute, though, right? I mean, that's something that we kind of been waiting on for Kuz to kind of just not give us them bright moments here and there, but when guys are out of the lineup, when they're not playing at all, and he becomes essentially the one or the two.
He's had some bright spots.
No, I'm saying, but we need more consistency out of him. You know, even when they're not on the floor and when he's on the floor with them, he's got to be the third guy. Do I think he could do it? I think so to some degree. You know, to some degree, playing with the second unit for him, you want him to be the guy in the second unit, not one of the guys, so to speak, right? And so if Stephen A is correct, then he's the one guy. And then obviously Danny Green needs to hit his shots, and he can fill it up from that standpoint. I don't know about Rondo, but Rondo certainly can give us some defense and some floor general stuff to take the ball out of LeBron's hand. That way he's the guy who could facilitate some a little bit there. But I think when you got two of the top 5 players on your team in the NBA, it's hard pressed for me to feel like you can't get it done. If they got to play 40 minutes apiece, so damn what? Tongues on the ground. Let's go.
I think it comes down to, look, you and I both think, Key, that it's going to be the Lakers and the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals. Fair?
I do.
Okay, I do as well. So if that's going to be the case, think about the volume of guys that the Clippers can throw at players, especially LeBron James. AD may do his thing because they may not have a matchup for that. That's Zubac or if that's Montrezl Harrell. But they'll be able to throw a lot of wings at LeBron James, Kawhi, PG. They'll try to switch out with Patrick Beverly. They'll give him different looks, right? Marcus Morris Sr., Reggie Jackson. They'll throw a lot of guys at him.
4 or 5 guys.
So you will need somebody to step up. If that's Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, if that's Kyle Kuzma. Let's look at what Kyle Kuzma has done over the last 5 games. Yeah. So last game when they beat Portland, he was 3 of 12 for 8 points. The one game he had 18 points was the last game before that when they beat Portland 135 to 115. The game before that, 7 points, 2 of 6. Game before that, 2 of 6 or 7 points. Like, it's very volatile. And you're waiting for him. I don't know who that player is going to be. And it may not be one player. They may have to do it by committee. Danny Green needs to step up. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope needs to step up. But having AD and LeBron James, I think they'll be okay.
Well, that's what I was saying about Kuz and the consistency. I mean, Jay just ran off the numbers, right? I mean, you got to be a little more consistent. But we've been waiting for this. In all of the trades for AD, all of the players, we saved him because we felt like he can be the third guy. And he's kind of, I mean, he's not disappointing, but he's not at the level I think that they hoped he would be at, where they felt very, very comfortable with just saying, oh, yeah, he's the third guy.
The problem is you wish that his level was higher earlier so you could have used him for a trade to get AD, and then you would have kept Brandon Ingram. Now, I'm not saying Brandon Ingram would have exploded this year, obviously playing underneath the pressure of LeBron James and winning a championship, but ultimately the skill set and how he plays, imagine if that could have fit in with LeBron and AD.
But they asked for Kuz in the trade too, so the Lakers weren't going to give him everything.
Right.
I mean, they can't. Well, we could have we could have just, I'm sure if it would have push come to shove and it was one of those deals, I'm sure they'd have just said, here, man, you can have that too. But they got the deal done without giving up Kuz, which in the end, we won in the trade as far as I'm concerned, because we got, a lifetime, once in a lifetime generational type player in AD.
You get the best player in any trade, you generally can see.
He got multiple bodies that he could throw at Giannis. You look at a guy like Jay Crowder that I thought was the steal in that Andre Iguodala trade, and then you got Bam out of the bayou. You got Andre Iguodala. You have Jimmy Butler. So they know they run back, they sprint back in transition, and they load the touch, and they take away his driving gaps. And on the offensive end for Miami, they could light it up from the 3. Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Goran Dragic. All those guys get hot. Even Jay Crowder, who's shooting pretty good right now in the playoffs, over 50%, they could get hot, and that's what Milwaukee give up is three-point shots. They load up the paint, and they make you take three-point shots. And that's what Orlando was getting. They just wasn't making them.
KP, how significant in the cross matchups in the Celtics-Raptors series be? In do they naturally favor the Celtics?
They do, and I got Toronto winning the series. Mm-hmm. It's just if the Celtics get hot, they have too many playmakers. Obviously, Jason Tatum is the best player on the floor. The way that he has emerged on both ends is remarkable, right? And then you have Jaylen Brown, and then you just got Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker leadership is like on another level right now. He had a career high in postseason, 10 dimes yesterday. And when you have those three guys and they're on, two of those guys got to be on. It's a problem. You know, Toronto collectively, they you got Pascal Siakam, you have Van Fleet, but they do it collectively. One of those three guys, literally, especially JT and Kemba, they could take over a game and go for 40+.
Perk, isn't that one of the things that concerns you a little bit about Toronto? You and I have talked about this multiple times on the phone. You know, we obviously last year having Kawhi, he was their closer. And now the question is for a team that does it collectively, who can step outside that collective and close games? Pascal has been very normal in these playoffs. I don't think there's been one game he shot over 43% from the field, only one maybe. Doesn't that concern you a little bit about a star to lead that team?
It does. And the thing is about Pascal is that, I mean, he don't have the flashy game, and you're right, Jay. I mean, he's averaging 20 points, but he shoots 43% from the field. The only person that I could see is two people. Well, you got three people. You could think Kyle Lowry, right, because he has stepped up in big moments when people thought that he couldn't. And Fred VanVleet has been, he's been phenomenal throughout these playoffs. But Norman Powell, right? Norman Powell, and it's crazy that you would have to depend on the six-man candidate, but he had some explosive nights, especially in that first series. But you're right, though, man. I mean, that dude bothers me. And I said this before, the Toronto Raptors, the way that they play defense reminds me of the 2004 Detroit Pistons. Right, the way that they play on the defensive end, how stingy they are, how great they are in being ranked number one and guarding the ISO and guarding ISOs and ranked number one in the league for its pick and roll defense and pin down defense. They ranked number 2 or 3 overall, and they remind me of the Detroit Pistons, where the Detroit Pistons, they had big shot buildups, but they kind of did it collectively also. But you're right though, man. And if they want to go somewhere, Pascal Siakam has to step his game up.
Perk, when I say the Denver Nuggets, whose team is it? Is it Nikola Jokic's team or is it Jamal Murray's team?
Man, I mean, 2 weeks ago, we would have said it was Jokic's team. But right now, the way that Jamal Murray, right, is emerging right in front of our eyes, right? The things that he's doing on that court, we haven't seen since AI and Michael Jordan. So, I mean, right now, you have to give that to Jamal Murray just for the simple fact. The thing is, what I'm watching is he don't get tired. Like yesterday, mentally, you could tell he lost himself in the game. That post-game interview he gave was beautiful. You could tell he lost himself in the moment, but he wasn't even tired, man. It's just like he still have enough energy that he could play another game. And when I'm watching it, his motor, his mentality, he gives them swag. And like the new generation say, that he gives them that drip. Like he's that engine. Yes, he puts up the buckets, but I'm watching his energy. I'm watching his passion. And guys feed off of that. So I would probably have to say right now is Murray's team.
KP, let's go out west for a minute with the Lakers in Houston. And you look at Houston's offense, obviously they want to shoot the 3 ball, but we got 3 bigs in the middle at times with Dwight, obviously JaVale and AD. What happens in terms of the small ball going up against our 3 bigs?
Ooh, see, this is the tricky part, right? Down there in the bubble, what I've been watching is it's an AAU type set. Now, with that being said, we know the Rockets, they live and die by the three, and they haven't been playing that well in the bubble. But to answer your question, the way that Dwight Howard and Anthony Davis have been playing, especially AD, I mean, you know, it was doubts, it was questions about whether or not Anthony Davis was a top 5 player in this league. I don't think we could ever question that again. The performance that he's put on, especially against the Trailblazers, against the number 1 shot block in the league, Hassan Whiteside. Okay, if you want to put Nurkic on him, he was cooking Nurkic.
Come on, Perk. Don't say that to me about Hassan Whiteside. Hassan Whiteside is so lazy out there, Perk. He didn't stealing money. He stole money from Miami. He's stealing money from Portland now.
I'm just saying, Jay Will, I'm just saying they threw multiple bodies at AD. And AD had Harold's fried chicken. He had it his way. Whatever he wanted, he gave it to you in a variety of ways, whether it was in the paint, whether it was step backs, half spins to fadeaways to the three-point range. He could not be denied. And that's dangerous. And I'm looking at this Houston Rockets series. I'm like, who are you going to put on Anthony Davis? Because going small and just thinking that, you know, and James Harden been phenomenal when he switched on people, but he better not switch on Anthony Davis. You can't put P.J. Tucker on him. You better not put Covington on him. I just don't see nobody stopping AD, and that's why I give the slight edge to the Lakers in that series.
Can't wait to watch the games tonight. Miami-Milwaukee, which we talked about with Perk at the top, and then his just comments on the Houston Rockets. They'll try to close out the Thunder 9 p.m. Eastern tonight.
Way to be on time today, Perk. Way to be on time today, Perk. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Let's go.
Perk, thank you so much.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, brother.
Great stuff. Keyshawn, J. Will Zubin, brought to you by Progressive Insurance. We will continue after Jay gives us this from Indeed.
Indeed knows that for any business, the most important.
He got multiple bodies that he could throw at Giannis. You look at a guy like Jay Crowder that I thought was the steal in that Andre Iguodala trade, and then you got Bam out of the bayou. You got Andre Iguodala. You have Jimmy Butler. So they know they run back, they sprint back in transition, and they load the touch and they take away his driving gaps. And on the offensive end for Miami, they could light it up from the three. Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Goran Dragic. All those guys get hot. Even Jay Crowder, who's shooting pretty good right now in the playoffs, over 50%, they could get hot, and that's what Milwaukee give up is three-point shots. They load up the paint, and they make you take three-point shots. And that's what Orlando was getting. They just wasn't making them.
KP, how significant in the cross matchups in the Celtics-Raptors series be in do they naturally favor the Celtics?
They do. And I got Toronto winning the series. Mm-hmm. It's just if the Celtics get hot, they have too many playmakers. Obviously Jason Tatum is the best player on the floor. The way that he has emerged on both ends is remarkable, right? And then you have Jaylen Brown, and then you just got Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker leadership is like on another level right now. He had a career high in postseason, 10 dimes yesterday. And when you have those three guys and they're on, two of those guys got to be on. It's a problem. You know, Toronto collectively, they you know, you got Pascal Siakam, you have Van Fleet, but they do it collectively. One of those three guys, literally, especially JT and Kemba, they could take over a game and go for 40+.
Perk, isn't that one of the things that concerns you a little bit about Toronto? You and I have talked about this multiple times on the phone. You know, we obviously last year having Kawhi, he was their closer. And now the question is for a team that does it collectively, who can step outside that collective and close games? Pascal has been very normal in these playoffs. I don't think there's been one game he shot over 43%.